Well, good morning again. Pastor Keith here, coming to you from our church building. I wanted to give a few words of encouragement to you this morning as I reflect just a little bit on how church has been going, in case you have a hard time keeping a pulse on the many different edges and aspects of the ministry that are ongoing in this unusual time. Next week, I'm going to cap off a year-long sermon series on the formation of love. So stay tuned for that. There'll be some very practical teaching on service and serving one another in married relationships. And I'm excited about that. It will be a good day for us to mark that year of time together, dwelling upon these ideas. In the meantime, I just wanted today to give a few encouraging words to let you know what's been going on here at Grassroots and how to get involved and plugged in if you're interested, as well as what we can expect in the coming weeks, so what we know we can expect. At least there's so much that we don't know. First of all, I wanted just to encourage all of those who've been partaking in our prayer meetings on Sunday mornings, on Wednesday nights. These are our weekly live experiences as a church, as a whole church. And there are many people who've begun joining in these online meetings, and it's been a really lovely time, really a rich time of prayer. We've got Zoom has provided the platform for us to be able to meet in person, and it's even added to our experience. There's a chat function on the right-hand side of the screen, and now we're able to list out the prayer requests that are happening in our hearts, and people who are a bit more shy and don't love praying out loud are praying through chatting in the sidebar. And we're lifting up the church and the world and the many concerns that are on each of our hearts that we bring every week. So that's been going awesome. It's been a really real blessing to pray with some more of you from your home. I hope that more people get involved with that. So just stay tuned through the various channels. We keep on putting the links up through our email newsletter and on our website and on our Facebook and social media accounts, how to get involved with that. So that's been really awesome. During the midweek experience, we have some awesome things going on. We've got our kids' Bible camp that happens every day, Monday through Friday from 1 to about 1:45. The kids have been going through the Old Testament stories, some of the great old stories that have been given to us to remember God's faithfulness and presence. And then they've been given an awesome, fun chance to be silly with one another and do various silly things. They've got to share their baby pictures with each other and kind of guess who is who. There's been a cooking episode, so to speak, where the kids made these awesome little chocolate bites. I don't know how to describe them. They were delicious. My kids made them. So handfuls of kids are jumping on at 1 to 1:45-ish every week or every weekday. And I know there's some adults that jump in too. It's not just for kids. It's focused on kids, but anyone can jump in and be part of the fun. And on Wednesdays, we have our grade 5 through 6 connection point. So it's a little bit older. There's still a chance for the kids of that age group to connect and do some spiritual conversation and some Bible reading. And it's just kind of geared towards a little bit older kids. On Monday nights, our youth group has been going strong. There's been Bible studies and spiritual conversations and some fun happening in that setting as well. So the kids ministries have been going strong, and it's been fun to kind of get to peer in on those from time to time. Also, the home groups have been meeting. I think we're up to seven home groups currently, with about half of our church involved with them. And here are some pictures of our home groups. Actually, I couldn't put up the pictures of our home groups for privacy reasons, but these pictures represent our home groups who are meeting in the middle of the week and being able to kind of share their hearts with one another. These meetings aren't simply Bible studies, as oftentimes people can expect in these groups, but they're really a chance and a space that's designed to build spiritual friendships and share our hearts with one another. They're not totally intimate spaces, and so we don't, there's not a lot of sort of bearing our souls to one another, which is okay, which is right. Those are oftentimes can happen better in smaller settings with, especially with people of the same gender. But these are smaller groups where we do get beyond just socializing, and we open the scriptures and we just share a little bit about how it's hitting us. So these are going strong, and if you want to jump into these, there's plenty of space. So feel free to let the church know, and we can get you involved. On Sunday mornings have been a really sweet time. We've chosen at Grassroots to pre-record our services, majorly for the many people who have difficult schedules on Sunday, and for those people in family situations where it would be very difficult to tune in at a certain time at home on a device with kids around and no kids worship available. And so we've chosen to take the path of pre-recording the service, and so many people have been watching and following along. We can see the metrics and analytics on YouTube, which is fun, and we've got a lot of people jumping in and joining in, and people start sometimes at 10:30, right when church would have started, and other people are tuning in at noon, and other people are tuning in at 5, and some people are tuning in Monday. So we are together in our church experience in that way, and that we are not providing something that people are missing out on because their situation can't get them there right at 10:30. We know that live worship is we've missed out on that. We miss out on the camaraderie and the sense of togetherness in that live experience. And so we've been kind of testing out some of these. On Good Friday, if you remember, we did a Good Friday live Zoom worship experience, which had a lot of people jumping in and loving that experience. And we just this last week ago, on Wednesday, we had a live worship night where we sang 6 worship songs and had communion together. And we saw each other in real time. And that I think that was a really nice and beautiful space. And many people were commenting on how nice it was to see each other in a worshipful setting. So there'll be more of those to come, I'm sure. So in the midst of all of this, as you remember, on Sunday mornings, we started the whole pandemic church with my first messages were a call for us to be meek, to remember that in crisis times, that meekness is the characteristic which becomes the leading virtue, leading characteristic that should guide us into a Jesus-like response to a very unusual and disorienting situation. And then I talked a little bit about the smaller gatherings as the foundation of church, that if Sunday mornings have been taken away from us, that we can now lean into the various other ministry capacities that are built on the foundation of what church is meant to be at its essence and at its core, which is a body of people who are following Jesus and sharing gifts with one another, sharing spiritual gifts with one another. So this reciprocity, this back and forth of sharing songs and spiritual hymns and words of encouragement, this is the very essence of what it means to be church. And so even though we can't do that in person, we can do that in our home settings and with the people that we come and encounter with. And in our home groups especially, this can be an ongoing reality in our home groups where even though we're not with each other, we're giving back and forth and encouraging one another. And we put up a few testimonial kind of conversations along the way to capture some of that dynamic where you see some conversations and testimonies of what people are experiencing and going through. And then we had Easter, and then I've been preaching on the love of Christ expressed in our most intimate relationships. So it's been, even though it's been a very unusual and difficult time for so many, and for all of us in many ways, church is going strong, and lots of people are engaging in it, and the Lord is using all these various ways to touch the hearts of the young and old alike. And I'm just really pleased, Grassroots. I'm really satisfied and pleased with how you've responded as a church. And this is not to mention the countless personal touches that you've been making between one another and the acts of selfless love that you've been expressing in your workplaces, in your homes, in the situations that you find yourself in where the love of Christ is required. And I know I've heard so many stories of you being inspirational out in your life in a Jesus-like way. So my heart is really warmed with love for you and excitement and admiration for how this church has responded. And this is an uncertain time. We don't really know what's going to happen next, whether we're past the worst of this pandemic or whether the summer is going to see a continuing increase of cases, or whether we're going to see a lull for a time, and then in the fall, as pandemics in the past have tracked, you have a kind of a beginning blip, and then the summer the cases go down a little bit, and then in the next fall, things get really, really bad, and the numbers just skyrocket again as we go back indoors. So we don't really know which of these scenarios is going to play out, and we pray that we can go back to normal as soon as possible. But we just don't know, and so we continue to hold on to hope. In all of these scenarios, a major theme that's been coming out in so many of my conversations has been the theme of joy, and how we hold on to joy in the midst of such trial. And that joy is not happiness, it's not shallow, it's something much more resilient and strong, and it allows sadness to exist alongside of it. And yet it's a choice where we choose to find a deep, deep understanding that the creator of all of the heavens and all of the earth is with us in a very profound way, has defeated death on the cross in his son Jesus. And that very same power which raised him from the dead is working in us today to shape us and to prepare us and to help us take one step in front of the other as we anticipate the resurrection of all things at the end of time. So there's a lot to be hopeful for, and joy seems to be a really important part of that. So I encourage you and invite you to think about joy in the coming weeks. And I think that's God is really asking us and really inviting us to understand joy maybe for the first time or in a new way in all of this. As we move forward, I don't really know what to tell you, to experience, or to expect for church going forward. I know that the numbers are going down here in Northern Ontario. Some of the restrictions are lifted. We can have drive-in church services, and probably park services or church services in parks will be a really wise way to move forward if we want to get together as the larger group. We'll definitely probably try to continue doing some more live services so that we can see one another in real time, whether that's on more Wednesday nights ahead or if we incorporate some of those on Sunday mornings. There'll be more videos, more sermons. In the next 4 weeks, so next week I will finish off the series on love. And then the 4 weeks after that, the 4 weeks of June, I'm going to take a break. I've found myself so worn down and exhausted and sort of deeply tired in the midst of all of this. So a few folks are stepping up to take on the sermons for the month of June. I'll still continue to work and connect with you guys individually as I have been, but I'm going to take June to try to rejuvenate as much as possible to get myself in a great headspace to lead you all forward into the months ahead through the summer and beyond. So that's the plan, and so stay tuned for some awesome sermons I've heard, and am working with the service leaders and a few others who are going to give the sermons in the coming weeks, and you're in for a real treat with them all. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And as far as the kinds of restraints involved with gathering, as we think about reopening church or re-engaging in live settings where more people can get together, we're going to be working with the medical professionals and the professionals that work with the health unit. We're going to be working very closely with them to come up with some guidelines on how to get together, whether it's in home groups or smaller groups, or whether it's in our large group, if that's going to be possible at all. So stay tuned. We'll communicate with you through the newsletter, through email, through our social media accounts. And if you're not connected in any of those ways, if you have truly been missed in terms of getting information from church, I invite you to email this email, info@grassrootschurch, and we'll get you plugged in as soon as we can to the information threads which will be coming out. So friends, as I close this morning and get our hearts around the ways forward and moving into the future, I'm going to say a word of prayer for us, and we'll invite you to continue on in the service below. Jesus, I am so grateful for the chance to be alive in this time, not because it's easy, but because there are so many people who need a loving touch, so many ways that your kingdom will be established and strongholds of the enemy will be broken in this time. I'm reminded that one of your great promises is that the evil that exists in the world, the things that are meant for evil, will be turned around for those who are in you and who love you and are called to your purpose, and will be made into good. And so I think if this situation has been so powerfully and stressful, and the pressures of it all have been so intense, and the evil of it all has been so upending, how much greater will be the turnaround. And I just am so excited to be part of that, God. I pray for each of my brothers and sisters here, and for those who are tuning in today, that if they don't know you today, or if they have felt far from you or have walked away from you, I pray that even right now and during the next few hours, that you would be stirring in their hearts and speaking to them loudly, reminding them of your love and your calling upon their life to embrace your Son and to be part of your great kingdom work in this world. For those who are sad today, Jesus, I pray that you'd enter into their sadness and open up that place with your joy. I pray for those today, Father, who are in a relationship setting that is difficult, or there's strife. I pray that you would bring peace, Jesus. And for those today, Father, who are lonely and isolated, I pray that you would help their loved ones remember them, and help us remember them, and help them to know who to seek and who to make themselves known to in this time. God, we love you, and until we see you come once again in glory, we are holding on tight and looking to you for our salvation. God, we love you, and we lift all this up, Jesus, in your name. Amen. All right, friends, have a great week. We'll see you here next time.